You see, this is exactly what we were talking about. WNBA All-Star ratings are in for 2025, and it is down 40%. 40% from last year. That's bad. That is really bad. We already watched the ticket prices drop by more than 50% because Caitlin Clark was not playing. This is bad news for the WNBA, and this should be a wake-up call. This should be a straight-up wake-up call.
Three-point contest. ESPN, ABC, and Disney score the historic viewership for the 2025 WNBA All-Star events. Friday, July 18th, ESPN airs the most watched WNBA skills and three-point contest ever, averaging 1.3 million viewers, which is up 89% versus last year's WNBA skills and three-point contest, up 89%.
What happens when you throw a party and forget to invite the life of it? The WNBA just found out the hard way. The All-Star Weekend ratings are in, and it's a tale of two realities. The skills and three-point contest, starring Caitlin Clark, saw an insane 89% viewership increase, becoming the most watched in history. The actual All-Star game, mysteriously missing its biggest star, the ratings nosedived by 36%, a staggering drop that echoes like a ghost in an empty arena. The league tried to prove it was more than one player, and the fans responded with a brutal mathematical truth. Without Clark, you're just not worth watching. Now, the WNBA is in full damage control mode, desperately trying to hide the evidence of their epic fumble.
WNBA All-Star Weekend ratings are here. They have arrived. We have the skills challenge, we have the three-point contest, and we have numbers for the most exciting, entertaining, overwhelmed with joy WNBA All-Star game we have seen in quite some time. We have ratings for that disaster as well.
Let's start with the anatomy of the cover-up, because it is truly a sight to behold. Faced with an embarrassing ratings collapse, ESPN and the WNBA colluded to release a press release so full of spin it could make you dizzy. They brilliantly combined the successful Friday numbers from the Skills Challenge and three-point contest with the disastrous Saturday numbers from the All-Star Game, then cherry-picked favorable comparisons to 2023, all to claim historic viewership for the weekend. It's a pathetic attempt to polish a turd. They conveniently ignored the record-shattering 2024 All-Star Game, which was massive, because of Clark, pretending it never existed. They are literally trying to scrub history, to create an alternate reality where their biggest star's absence had no effect. This isn't just PR, it's an insult to our intelligence, a blatant attempt to gaslight an entire fan base that can read a scoreboard.
Many of you have probably been waiting on this, as have I. But the WNBA All-Star Game ratings have come out, and all I could think of right off the bat was 4 little letters. F-A-F-O. F around and find out. You bleep around and find out what this league looks like without Caitlin Clark being involved in your biggest events. Kathy Engelbert, this should be a perfect example of why you need to get your officiating cleaned up and you need to have a talk with your players in the league.
But the blame isn't just on the PR team. It started from within. This ratings disaster was a self-inflicted wound, a direct consequence of the players' decision to exclude Caitlin Clark from the All-Star Game. Remember the All-Star voting? While fans voted Clark first overall, her peers, in an act of what can only be described as pure, unadulterated jealousy, voted her the 9th best guard. 9th. The woman single-handedly selling out every arena, driving unprecedented viewership, and inspiring a new generation of fans was deemed unworthy by her own colleagues. This wasn't a mistake, it was a deliberate snub, a calculated move to humble her. They wanted to prove the league was bigger than one player, and they found out just how wrong they were. The fans saw the snub, and they delivered their verdict by tuning out.
For the WNBA, that somewhat decent attempt at comedy from Elle Duncan, she, her, that desperate plea for toxic masculinity from Elle Duncan, that was the highlight of the weekend for the WNBA. The rest of the weekend was filled with protest. It was filled with constant whining, constant complaining, and in between the whining and protesting was a 2-hour event that came nowhere close to resembling professional basketball.
And right in the middle of this mess, who does the league trot out for a primetime one-on-one interview with Clark? None other than Sue Bird, the unofficial president of the Caitlin Clark Anti-Hype Committee. This is the same Sue Bird who has spent the season throwing low-key shade at Clark, subtly trying to diminish her impact. This is the same Sue Bird who is infamously caught on camera smirking and cheering while Clark was getting physically mauled on the court by players like Marina Mabrey and Chennedy Carter. The interview itself had the tense, awkward energy of a deer politely nodding at a hunter. Bird wasn't there to give Clark her flowers. She was there for PR optics, a transparent attempt by the league's old guard to co-opt the popularity of the new star they secretly resent, while still subtly trying to control the narrative.
Not just in the WNBA and the coverage of the WNBA, but I think maybe in society in general. And that's bring back some shame, bring back some embarrassment, because ESPN does not seem to have the capacity for either one of those things. What am I talking about? Well, we've got the ratings for the All-Star game. It's going to be spun by the Caitlin Clark lovers and the Hatelens as well because of the number that came in. And you can see right here the insane spin by ESPN. ESPN, ABC, and Disney Plus scored historic viewership for the 25 WNBA All-Star weekend.
But Clark's absence was only part of the problem. The All-Star game itself was a terrible product, which is why even loyal fans tuned out in droves. It was a glorified 4-point shooting contest mixed with a lazy layup line, completely devoid of professional intensity or genuine competition. The weekend was filled with whining, complaining, and a level of on-court aggression that bordered on assault. Players treated the game like a bumper car derby, body checking, elbowing, and engaging in petty one-on-one battles, rather than showcasing the elite skill of women's basketball. And veterans like Sue Bird seemed to applaud the chaos, endorsing a physical style of play that actively drives away casual viewers looking for finesse and artistry. It wasn't basketball. It was a low-budget sequel to Fight Club, and it was utterly unwatchable.
Prices dropping, and now you see the show, the ratings fell tremendously. And it was an awful game. So that large percent of people who did not watch, they probably had a better Saturday than everybody else. We just got to be real. It was a glorified 4-point shooting contest in a layup line. It was terrible. It was a terrible product, and you guys should have taken it personal to show the world what you can do and show the world you are more than just Caitlin Clark.
This league-wide dysfunction is perfectly mirrored on Clark's own team, where she has to co-star in the league's most awkward pairing, Caitlin and Stephanie White. If basketball chemistry were a science project, this one would have already exploded and set the table on fire. It's not just a mismatch, it's sabotage in khakis. White's system is built like IKEA furniture with no instructions, clunky, slow, and designed to neutralize Clark's generational talent. The Fever drafted a Ferrari and have decided to drive it on gravel roads, windows down, blasting elevator music. The disconnect is painful. Clark could go 7 for 9 from 3 and still get benched in the fourth quarter for developmental purposes. It's not strategy. It's an intentional, active suppression, a stubborn refusal to let the team's best player actually lead.
WNBA All-Star Game was the most watched program of the night across all of TV, as it should have been. 2.2 million average viewers, up 158%. That is absolutely an insane number. Think about that, folks. Caitlin Clark, the most popular by far, by any measure, any metric, popular female basketball player of all time. We've seen all the record-breaking ratings, the record-breaking attendance, playing outside in front of 55,000 people.
Asking you to hold Caitlin Clark's hand. Just play fair and stop with the WWE bullshit. All right? I mean, it's clear. Fans sent a blatant message. A shot across thou bow. All right? And your ship, well, without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA and all their pay us what you owe us action, that action will sink. That action will sink. Woo! WNBA All-Star Game sees ratings drop without Caitlin Clark, and it's ugly.
And let's not forget the blatant hypocrisy when it comes to the money trail. The WNBA made its first profit in 2024, reportedly raking in $1 million after years of operating at a loss, often subsidized by the NBA. This newfound profitability, along with skyrocketing TV deals, charter flights for players, and increased salaries, has one clear source: the Caitlin Clark effect. Her presence has forced arenas to larger venues, pushed merchandise sales through the roof, and driven viewership numbers that were unthinkable just a year ago. Yet the same league, the same players who are benefiting immensely from this financial boom are simultaneously trying to diminish, sideline, and even physically abuse the very person who made it all possible. It's an unchecked greed, a willingness to extract every dollar from the Clark phenomenon while actively trying to extinguish her flame.
So we finally got the viewership numbers back from the All-Star events. And yeah, you can tell ESPN was trying to help them out here with the All-Star viewership. We're about to get in quick, y'all. As you can see, the graphic here came from ESPN, and it said ESPN, ABC, and Disney Plus score historic viewership for 25 WNBA All-Star events, which went down Friday. ESPN airs most watched WNBA skills and three-point contests ever. All right, so they did better than last year, basically. With 1.3 million average viewers, it was up 89% versus last year's WNBA skills and three-point contest. All right, most viewed program across all of TV and primetime among people under 35, adults 18 to 34, and females 18.
But the league, the coach, and the haters can spin all they want. They cannot escape the 6-0 elephant in the room. The numbers don't lie. Ratings don't lie. Merchandise sales don't lie. Sold-out arenas in every single city don't lie. The WNBA can pretend this ratings dip was a coincidence, that it was because of the weather or Mercury in retrograde. But everyone with a functioning brain knows the truth. They left the player who broke viewership records and single-handedly moved the needle off the roster, and the fans sent them a clear, brutal message. Clark is not the problem. She is the proof. Proof that people care. Proof that this game has untapped potential.
WNBA players believe they are stars. But earlier this afternoon, players in the WNBA were given another harsh dose of reality. Ratings for the All-Star game were released, and the ratings once again proved that this dump of a league is nothing without Caitlin Clark. Now, most of the media, they chose to provide honest reports of WNBA ratings. But imagine my surprise when I noticed that ESPN once again decided to polish the turd.
2.2 million average viewers, up 158%, not versus last year, but versus 2023 WNBA All-Star. All right, second most watched WNBA All-Star game ever, behind 2024. Now, in 2024, they ended up having 3.44 million. All right. And honestly, man, we know why. Okay, we know why. There was a lot at stake, right? People trying to prove people wrong. You had Enrique, who felt like she deserved to be on.
So this is where the WNBA finds itself in a bizarre civil war with its own success. They are actively trying to downplay and suppress the very player who is making them relevant. The all-star ratings disaster was the predictable, inevitable consequence of this insecure, gatekeeping mentality. The fans have spoken, their wallets have spoken, and their remotes have spoken. The league can either embrace the revolution that Caitlin Clark represents, give her the freedom, protection, and respect she has earned, or they can watch their ship sink under the weight of their own outdated egos and self-inflicted wounds. The choice is theirs.